The bite marks that put two innocent men behind bars. Two little girls were murdered in the same Mississippi county, 3 years apart. In each case, investigators found marks on the child's body. A forensic dentist looked at those marks, looked at a suspect's teeth, and gave the courtroom the kind of answer a frightened community desperately wanted. A match. Levon Brooks was sentenced to life. Kennedy Brewer was sent to death row. But years later, one man confessed to both crimes. DNA connected him to one of them. Brooks and Brewer were cleared. And the evidence that had helped put them away was forced to answer a question. It had somehow escaped inside the courtroom. Could a mark on living skin ever identify one human mouth? This story concerns the deaths of 2 children. Their names were Courtney Smith and Christine Jackson. Grim records will not display graphic injury images or turn their suffering into spectacle. The focus here is the evidence, the language used to describe it, and what happened when certainty arrived before validation. In September 1990, 3-year-old Courtney Smith disappeared from her home in Noxubee County, Mississippi. Her body was later found in a pond. Suspicion fell on Levon Brooks, the former boyfriend of Courtney's mother. The prosecution's case included what were described as bite marks on Courtney's wrist. Forensic dentist Michael West compared those injuries with Brooks's teeth. At trial, West did not merely say that Brooks could not be excluded. According to later court and case accounts, he said the marks matched Brooks and expressed the conclusion with extraordinary certainty. In 1992, Brooks was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to life in prison. That same year, in the same county, 3-year-old Christine Jackson was abducted from her home, sexually assaulted, and killed. Kennedy Brewer, the boyfriend of Christine's mother, became the suspect. Once again, marks on the victim's body became central evidence. Once again, Michael West compared those marks with the suspect's teeth. Brewer was convicted in 1995 and sentenced to death. To a jury, the logic could feel almost mechanical. Teeth have shapes. An injury has a shape. Place one over the other, and the person who made the mark should reveal himself. But that simple picture hides 3 separate assumptions. First, the relevant pattern of one person's front teeth must be unique. Second, skin must record that pattern accurately. Third, an examiner must be able to recover and compare the pattern reliably. If any one of those links fails, the chain from injury to identity breaks. In March 2023, the National Institute of Standards and Technology published a scientific foundation review of bite mark analysis. NIST examined more than 400 publications and asked whether the method could reliably associate marks with the teeth that made them. Its conclusion was not that every observation made by every forensic dentist was wrong. It was narrower, and more devastating. The 3 premises needed for source attribution were not supported by the data. Individual uniqueness had not been established for the biting surfaces of human teeth. Skin did not consistently preserve dental patterns. It stretches. It moves. It swells. It heals. The victim may move during an attack. The same teeth can leave different-looking marks, while different teeth can produce marks that appear similar. And examiners had not been shown to interpret those injuries with the reliability needed to identify a source. One study discussed in the review asked practitioners to examine patterned injuries. They sometimes disagreed on the first and most basic question: was the injury even a human bite? That matters because a comparison cannot rescue a classification error. If a wound is not a bite mark, matching it to teeth is not identification. It is pattern finding imposed on an image. But a courtroom does not experience evidence as a laboratory does. A scientist may hear consistent and think one possibility among others. A juror may hear a match. An expert points to arcs and spacing. The overlay looks precise. The vocabulary sounds technical. That combination creates what might be called the theater of precision. A method appears exact because its demonstration is detailed, even when the probability behind the conclusion is unknown. This is the first open loop in the Brooks and Brewer cases. The testimony looked individualizing. But where was the population data showing how rare the observed features were? Where were the controlled studies showing how often a different mouth would appear compatible? Where was the measured error rate for marks distorted in human skin? The confidence reached the jury before those questions had answers. Then biology interrupted the story. In Brewer's case, post-conviction DNA testing excluded him as the source of semen recovered from the crime. His conviction was overturned in 2001. But exclusion did not immediately equal freedom. Prosecutors intended to retry him, and Brewer remained incarcerated for years after the conviction was vacated. The deeper break came when investigators identified another man, Justin Albert Johnson. Johnson confessed to killing both Christine Jackson and Courtney Smith. The DNA evidence in Christine's case implicated him, and his confession and other evidence led authorities to clear both Brewer and Brooks. In February 2008, Brewer was exonerated. He had spent roughly 15 years incarcerated, including 7 years on death row. The following month, the charge against Brooks was dismissed. He had spent about 16 years in prison. 2 prosecutions. 2 children. 2 men condemned by conclusions tied to marks on skin. 1 perpetrator ultimately linked to both crimes. The lesson is tempting to reduce to a villain story: blame one examiner, expose one scandal, and move on. But that would be too easy. An expert can overstate. A prosecutor can present it. A judge can admit it. A jury can trust it. A professional field can change while old convictions remain. The failure is not one moment. It is a relay. Each person can believe someone else already checked the science. By the time NIST published its review, the professional language around bitemark comparison had narrowed. The American Board of Forensic Odontology's guidance allowed conclusions such as exclude, not exclude, and inconclusive, rather than claims that a particular person made the mark. But even not exclude carries danger when it reaches a jury without context. Not excluded from how many people? How distorted was the skin? How reproducible was the examiner's judgment? Would another qualified examiner classify the injury the same way? Without those answers, not excluded can become a shadow version of identified. There is also an important boundary. Forensic odontology includes established uses that are not the same as linking a skin injury to a specific biter. Dental records can help identify human remains. NIST explicitly separated that practice from the source attribution problem reviewed here. The issue is not whether teeth contain information. The issue is whether an injury on skin preserves enough information, with enough reliability, to justify a claim about who made it. That distinction is the difference between observing evidence and asking it to say more than it can. Now return to the image that makes bitemark testimony so persuasive: a transparent outline placed over a wound. The lines may appear to align. But alignment alone does not tell us the chance of alignment with someone else. It does not show how the wound changed between the event and the photograph. It does not reveal which features the examiner noticed only after seeing the suspect's dental cast. It offers a story of fit without a tested measure of rarity. This is why validation must come before confidence, not after a wrongful conviction exposes the weakness. A forensic method should be able to answer basic questions before it helps take away a person's liberty. What exactly is being measured? Can independent examiners repeat the result? How often does the method falsely associate different sources? What language accurately communicates the uncertainty? And what information should be hidden from the examiner to reduce contextual bias? These questions do not weaken criminal investigations. They protect them. When weak evidence points toward the wrong person, the cost is not only paid by the innocent defendant. The actual perpetrator remains free. The victim's family receives a verdict that may feel like closure but is built on the wrong foundation. Future victims may be placed at risk. In the Brooks and Brewer cases, the later identification of Justin Albert Johnson did more than clear two names. It revealed that the system had failed in both directions. It punished innocent men, and it failed to stop the man responsible after the first child was killed. That is the final and hardest point. Forensic restraint is not sympathy for suspects at the expense of victims. It is a commitment to finding the right person, using conclusions proportionate to the evidence. Courtrooms need experts. But expertise should not mean immunity from measurement. Technical language should not outrun the data beneath it. And a visual match should never be mistaken for a known probability. Courtney Smith and Christine Jackson deserve to be remembered as children, not as case props. Levon Brooks and Kennedy Brewer deserve to be remembered as men whose lives were taken apart by convictions that did not survive later evidence. The record leaves us with a rule simple enough to carry into every true crime story. Before asking whether the evidence looks convincing, ask what the method has actually proved it can do. Because a mark can be real. An expert can be confident. A jury can believe both. And the conclusion can still be wrong. If you want more true crime that separates a clue from a conclusion, subscribe to Grim Records. And in the comments, tell us which forensic method should face the evidence test next: hair comparison, bloodstain patterns, fire investigation, or